Yonta pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjeevayata kila shaktidhara svadhamna anyam shahasta charana shravana tvagadim pranamamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Hare Krishna. We're very happy to have all of you back for our weekly class. So we will continue our discussion from the first canto, fourth chapter. We are on verse number 19th. We completed, no? Yes. And also, last time we discussed about, anybody would like to summarize what are the main thing we discussed last time? Like what was the main take home or what was the theme that we were discussing? Anybody would like to share? Nobody remembers?
Vyasdev was contemplating.
Vyasdev was contemplating what?
He was like, he just started with that.
The goal of life.
He was seeing something is happening. He was seeing people are going to be very disturbed in Kali Yuga. He saw time is going to create havoc in the lives of people, how they will not be interested in spiritual life. This was his vision. This is what he saw. And then we discussed in great detail about distractions in modern times, how we are not spiritually inclined because of the way we are bombarded with the media, the news. So I think we went on that discussion for some time last time. I hope you remember. Yeah. So today we will discuss क्या? Internet है. मैं इसमें एक मिनट. I am on that mobile data roam. बाद में अभी चालू हो गया तो data roaming में चल रहा है तो चल रहा है. So we will continue then from where we left off last time. I remember we spoke verse number 17 and 18. So story so far is that Vyasdev is very learned sage. Yes, foreseen the future. He's seeing how people are not going to be interested in spiritual life. They're going to be very disturbed, agitated. They're going to be provoked by small things, and which is typically happening nowadays. People are high on dopamine, highly excited and stimulated all the time. And for practicing spiritual life, you need to be in sattva guna. You need to be peaceful. But we are not like that. So seeing people suffering so much, Vyasdev now decided to do something to help the people. And that is what we are going to discuss from today onwards, which is text number 19. So you can please repeat after me. All of you have access to Bhagavatam. Chaturhotram karma shuddham prajanam viksha vedikam Vedadadyagya santyaye Vedam ekam chaturvedam. Who would like to read?
We saw that the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupation could be purified. And to simplify the process, he divided the one Veda into 4 in order to expand them among men.
So basically he decided that people are going to be not having that memory which they had earlier. Earlier they were Shrutidhar, they could hear and they could remember everything. So he realized that in Kali Yuga people are going to be disturbed, they're going to have less memory power. Like, we have memory chip one, like we have 1 TB data. That's a lot. When I brought my first laptop in the early 90s, like some MBs, some few hundred MBs. And it was like, wow, it has so much space. Now 1 TB is nothing. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that how personal memory is reducing. We may have a lot of data memory we may be keeping. Also, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport about so many diseases, which is also, it's interesting, medical advancement has happened so much, but diseases are also increasing. The pandemic was the best example of that. People became helpless and now there is monkeypox scare. So, although medical science is advancing, diseases are also increasing. Fear, insecurity is increasing. So what is Vyasdev doing to help people who are suffering? And here this is the first step he has done. he decided to make it simple. This is one of the most important things we learn while preaching also. Keep it simple. They say keep it, they say it is a KISS formula. Keep it short and simple. Just simple. So make it simple, simple to understand. So Vyasdev decided that he will make Vedas into 4 so that it can be properly divided. And then what happened is revealed in the next subsequent verses. He also wrote Puranas, Mahabharata, all of that. That is text number 20. So please repeat after me. Rigyaju Samatar Vakya Vedav Chatvara Udrita Itihasa Puranam Cha Panchamo Veda Uchyate.
The 4 divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately. But the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the 5th Veda.
And then he did subsequent divisions. Text number 21. I'll chant, then you can repeat after me. Tatra Veda. So it says internet connection is unstable and this thing is coming constantly. But I hope you are getting the flow of the pastime. Vyasdev is concerned, and out of concern is dividing the Vedas to help the people. And this verse says he had many disciples and then their disciples and then grand disciples. Basically, the knowledge was transmitted to through different disciples so that the simple way everybody can understand what is the goal of life and they can practice spiritual life. And then what happened? Text 24 says, Taiva Veda Durmede Dharayante Purusheryata Evam Chakara Bhagavan Vyasa Kripana Vatsala.
Thus, the great sage Vyasdev was very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men.
So people who are ignorant, they also got help. Vyasdev is trying to see how people are going to be very, very unqualified to practice spiritual life. And then he wrote Mahabharata, which is text number 25, reveals. Stri Shudra Dvija Bandhunam Traina Shruti Gochara Karma Shreyasi Mudhana Shreya Evam Bhavediya Iti Bharatam Akhyanam Kripaya Munina Kritam.
Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled a great historical narration called Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born.
Srila Prabhupada also followed the same footsteps. If you see, he, like Vyasdev, wrote small books, wrote things in a language which at that time in 1960s people could understand. And now devotees are even writing books on Srila Prabhupada's books. And there are so many YouTube videos, small videos, 2-minute videos, somehow trying to get people to Krishna consciousness, trying to make it as simple as possible. Now, when Srila Prabhupada went to the West in 1960s, he wanted to introduce them to Krishna consciousness. How does he tell them about Krishna? Because most of these young boys were not even believing in God, and he had to tell them about Krishna. So he spoke about Krishna consciousness. Now, consciousness at that time was a very popular word with the hippies in America, because they would talk about consciousness expansion. They would talk about altered state of consciousness. They would talk about all these concepts. So then Prabhupada came and told them Krishna consciousness. No, they said this is cool, something to do with consciousness. Like before Srila Prabhupada came to West, the Lord in the heart, Paramatma, in English the translation was overseer. He is the one who is the friend, who is there in the heart. That's what Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur translated. Srila Prabhupada, he introduced the term super soul. Soul and super soul. for the Lord. That was very innovative because that time Superman had become very famous. They said, "Chalo, abhi man is Superman, hai, so soul ka super soul." So trying to be innovative, trying to like understand the people's needs and in their language, connect them and give them what we want to give them. Like one of the hippies in the class asked Srila Prabhupada in front of everyone, "How is it like to go back to the spiritual world?" Now, these young boys and girls, hippies, were into drugs, and that time one very famous drug was LSD. So they would take LSD to alter their state of consciousness and to get those visions and hallucinations. So Srila Prabhupada knew that many of them are addicted to LSD. So when this boy asked, "What is it like to go back to spiritual world? What is it? What is the experience there?" Srila Prabhupada said, "It is like an ocean full of LSD." So they all laughed and they understood that Srila Prabhupada is talking about a very high state of ecstasy. So he knew that art. So to make it simple, nowadays also you see our many preachers, they have these videos. Like I know devotees who make this 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute videos, messages. And I know one person who came to temple, he was on the verge of suicide. And he had seen one devotee's YouTube video and that had saved his life. There are examples like this. So nowadays, devotees following the footsteps of Vyasadeva and Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, they are giving us in innovative ways. But here it is very important. If you see, Vyasadeva is presenting Mahabharata, is presenting the message of spirituality in a way which people can understand through stories, through examples. So the essence is, he is not compromising on essence. He is giving the Vedic knowledge only. But he is trying to be innovative. But sometimes what happens, many of us preachers, we focus on traditions so much. We focus on traditions so much that we want to be right. We want to do what is there in the parampara. And we focus so much on the traditions that people whom we are trying to get to Krishna consciousness, they get put off. Because they can't relate to it with their present life. So we connect. See, some people connect, like some preachers will go and connect to people. Oh, you are suffering, they are very friendly with them, they help them, they connect with them, but they don't get them to Krishna. And some people, they give Krishna so much that the person can't connect. Both extremes are seen. So Vyasadeva is giving us spiritual wisdom, but he is focusing on the tradition also. The essence of tradition is important. It has to be preserved because traditions carry a lot of power. Like right now, we chanted the verses. We chanted almost 5-6 verses. Sometimes you may think, what is the point in chanting these shlokas? But just, you do this for a period of time, chanting verses, reading the translation. This is not ordinary sound. This is transcendental sound. This is sound not from the ordinary material strata. So when we chant these verses also, it purifies the heart. You feel a different experience over a period of time. It's like a medicine taken through the ear. It has a lot of purificatory potency. So this is part of tradition because these are the verses which were chanted. Just imagine the same planet, the same verses were chanted even 5,000 years ago. मतलब ये किन लोगों के मुंह से निकला है ये. This is not ordinary. So this is a very powerful sound vibration. And traditions have a lot of power. Like Vyasadev's genius is, in these verses I've revealed, that he is now giving that same tradition in a way that people can relate in Kali Yuga. That is why he's glorious. See, if you go to some traditional temples in India like Jagannath Puri, they are following the traditions for the last thousands of years. I come from a small town in Udupi, where for the last 800 years, they are following the same tradition, they're maintaining it. So what happens is, when people go there and they see that, oh, this is the tradition they're following for the last 800 years, it gives us faith in the process and in the eternality of Krishna. That so many people have been doing this for so many years, and you can feel that vibrations there, that spiritual vibrations. And if you see, when traditions are maintained, like if you go to this in Udupi, there are 8 temples. surrounding the Krishna temple, 8 mathas. So these temples were established 800 years ago by Madhvacharya, who appointed 8 successors, and each of them had a small matha. And if you go there, you will see that they have the list of the parampara. Last 800 years, some 35 sannyasis have come, Each matha has its own tradition and sannyasis, and there has been no fall down. Hardly in the 800 years, only 3 or 4 people have left the order, but most of them have maintained strict vows. So, and they've served Udupi Krishna for 2 years, and then after 16 years, they get another chance. And you read those names, and you feel wow, you feel inspired that there are people who are doing this for years. They're worshipping Krishna for generations. And every day you go in the temple complex, that area, you'll see the sannyasis with their entourage coming, and they have this sannyas janda, and they have this group of young Brahmana boys chanting mantras. And most of the sannyasis are very old, 70, 80 years old, and these people are chanting. And this is a tradition that has been happening every day for 800 years, because this sannyasis guru is also doing that his entire life. And there are 4 or 5 small temples. They have a ritual. They have to go to all these temples. And if there was no electricity, if there was no video cameras, you could feel that you've been transported back in time, because this is exactly what is happening. Nothing has changed. There is Ananteshwara temple there, which was built by Pandava. There is Chandramauleshwara temple, which is even older than that. And each of these 8 mathas have Krishna deity, which Madhvacharya gave. And the sannyasis, for their rest of their lives, like 70, 80 years, they're worshipping the deity of Krishna. They are rendering sincere, menial services without any worldly fame and name, no glamour attached to them. Like I remember one matha, I went with a group of devotees, and I requested that sannyasi, because I know the local language. I spoke to that sannyasi. I said, can you address our group? He said, okay. And he had been a sannyasi for more than 50, 60 years. So when he came, and he was simply talking to the devotees asked him questions. And while answering, he was saying, oh, we have to pray to Krishna. Every answer he was saying, he was saying things like, like Krishna crushed the ego of Kaliya. Krishna can protect us. After a few minutes, while answering another question, he again gave the example of Kaliya, how Krishna defeated Kaliya. So I was wondering, why is he repeatedly giving the example of Kaliya pastime? And later on, when we were leaving the temple, I realized why. Because each of these 8 mathas have one deity of Krishna, and in this matha, Krishnapura matha, the deity is Kaliya Krishna deity, Krishna dancing on the hoods of Kaliya. And for the last 60, 70 years, he's been worshipping this deity of Krishna. So he's very attached to this aspect of Krishna. So somebody is leading that kind of a lifestyle centered on service to Krishna, is just maintaining the tradition for generations. And so those dedicated services for decades. And in the temple complex, there is a samadhi area where the sannyasis who serve Krishna, when they die, when they leave their bodies, their samadhi is made. And that place is called Vrindavan. And that complex is amazing, because there so many samadhis are there of sannyasis, and their names are not written there. And each of these samadhis is of sannyasis who took sannyas at the age of 7, 8, or 9 as young boys. And they served Krishna till the age of 92, 93, 95, 80. 80 is common. For 70, 80 years, they've been serving Krishna and their names are also not there. And they would generally leave their bodies in a very dramatic way while serving Krishna on Ekadashi or on a very special day while giving Charanamrit. So, if you see, this is the outside world will never be able to appreciate this, and they don't even know about this. Most of them don't even know these things exist. But for those of spiritual seekers, when they see these traditions being maintained, their faith increases in the purity, in the process. But what happens many times, some of us, we get fanatic and we stick to traditions so much that we fail to connect people to Krishna. We become we fight over, rituals. See, it has its, in desperation to preserve the tradition, sometimes we reduce a spiritual organization like ISKCON, we may reduce it to a museum. A museum is where, old things are kept and preserved. So, and in a museum, there's a lot of focus on preserving. So we reduce Krishna consciousness movement to a museum. Actually, it's not a museum. My very dear friend Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, in one of his lectures, is saying, he says ISKCON is not a museum. Of course, we have to maintain tradition. There is sacredness to everything. But ISKCON is like a garden where, beautiful blossoming flowers of Krishna consciousness are growing. So we have to blend the principles of Krishna consciousness and the tradition, and also with modernism. Help people understand what is spiritual life.
You can example on this particular balancing point. Or you get that it's not you modern types. That example also as the
Like if you are speaking on Ramayana, Ram Bharat story, you can speak about some businessman whose two brothers are fighting over property, two big businessmen. Then you can connect it to Ram Bharat story and draw lessons from it. So when you're speaking, you can always connect it to people's lives. Like last time in the class, I spoke about news channels, and that whole discussion on how we have negativity bias and how we get distracted by news that is always promoting negative news, and it grabs our attention. So like that, you can connect scriptural statements to modern times. That is,
it's quite double scholarship. If we want to give it as not as a museum, as a garden, so how you?
So like for example, in Udupi Sampradaya, they do not give initiation to anybody who is not a Brahmana by birth. So we can also say, oh, only Hare Krishna devotees, only strict. No, but then we go out, right? Like Swaminarayan is only Patels, Gujaratis. But here, Africans, Marwadis, all castes. So we are connecting to people. We do corporate programs, we do children program. Now this coming Saturday, we have Bal Utsav. 500 people will be coming. So we are connecting to children, grown-up people, Varishta Vaishnav Sabha. We have some devotees who are preaching to sports stars and film stars. So connecting people to Krishna in their own unique ways is ISKCON's strength. So basically, we have to blend both. Give Krishna also and be relevant in the modern times also. But we can't be so relevant in helping people that we forget Krishna. And that's exactly what Vyasadeva has done. Vyasadeva is trying to give so many solutions now, but he is not giving he's going to realize later on. I'm telling the climax of the story in advance only. He realizes that I've done a mistake. I'm giving Krishna as a side, like one part of the story. He realizes that later on. But he's giving help. But he's trying to be relevant. But he's not giving Krishna as the succor, as the shelter for relief. So that he's going to realize soon. So we can't be narrow-minded and parochial, that we just focus on traditions. At the same time, we can't forget Krishna, because Krishna is our USP. Krishna is the most attractive personality. And there's a lot of rasa in Krishna. Rasa means mellow, taste. Like your heart will start beating when you just hear the name Krishna. When you hear Krishna's pastime, it's like falling in love. You feel excited. That rasa you won't find in impersonal meditation. You won't find in silent meditation. You may get peace, you may get shanti. But Krishna is about love. And love is a higher experience than peace. There are many people who are peaceful, but they would prefer to be miserable in love than to be peaceful. They are looking for companionship. They're looking for love, because love is an intense feeling where a lot of emotions are churned in the heart, and Krishna guarantees love. And that rasa, we can't forget Krishna. Now, how do we present Krishna? That we have to be innovative. We have to present, because people are suffering. We have to help them come to Krishna. So ISKCON is a place where we help people in their, whatever situations they are in, but we also help them connect with Krishna. So Vyasadeva loved, he had compassion for the suffering people. He was doing selfless service. His intention was perfect, right? And his strategy is also great, because he's dividing the Vedas, he's made disciples, then he's made grand disciples, he's made teachers. But something is lacking. And that is revealed in the next verse, 26th verse. Vyasadeva gets a realization. Please repeat now. Evam pravratasya sada Bhutanam Shreyasi Dvija Sarvatmakenapi Yada Natushya Dridayam Tata.
O twice born Brahmanas, still his mind was not satisfied. Although he engaged himself in the working for the total welfare of all.
Sarvatma kenapi yada means he put all his effort in helping people. Sarvatma kenapi yada, but still not tushya. There was some incompleteness he felt in his heart. Means he was totally dedicated to working for the welfare of people, but still he was feeling some incompleteness. The line says, "Na tushya." Tushti nahi mili. Kuch to. See, this is the mystery. The mystery. This is a mystery why he was not happy, and Srimad Bhagavatam will unravel that mystery. Because you just imagine, Vyasdev is given a Vedic path, and still he is feeling incomplete. Just try to understand this point. He is not giving a path of hedonism. He is giving a Vedic path. Still, he feels kuch to andar kami hai. Just imagine then what to speak of those who promote sense gratification as the goal. I mean, if somebody is giving a Vedic path and still feels lonely, then imagine those who give lesser stuff, how much more lonely they will be feeling. Because there is something inherently lacking in matter. It lacks the ability to satisfy the soul, because we are eternal and everything around you is destructible. Just keep your eyes and ears open and you will see everything is subject to destruction. But we, the soul, is Sat Chit Ananda. We are eternal, fully conscious and fully blissful. But everything around us is subject to destruction. So how can anything temporary satisfy the soul? That is why you see all of us are always looking for stability. You see most people, whether they're in relationships, wherever, every time they're looking for some these three things what people are always looking for: stability, clarity, and happiness. People want clarity. They want answers. Always they're looking. One of the biggest needs of human beings is clarity. ये क्यों हो रहा है? ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? I want to know. That clarity comes from the soul's chit aspect, consciousness aspect. And that stability, need for stability, comes from the Sat aspect, eternal, because we never die. And Ananda, that joy, because that is the nature of the soul, completely blissful. Now, because we are looking for that in matter, there is an incompatibility. So this is the dichotomy which will be revealed to Vyasdev. Some of the most attractive people in this world who give happiness to others, they themselves, see, if Vyasdev is dissatisfied, Srila Prabhupada writes in one of the purports that he is given Vedanta. The author of Vedanta is dissatisfied, and what to speak of the readers of Vedanta. Like, some entertainers on the television screen, they may entertain us, they may sing beautiful songs, but if they are themselves in depression, it may just give us some relief. It will not satisfy the soul. I grew up in Kolaba area, and I don't know if you know, earlier Churchgate station was not the last station. Kolaba was the last station. Of course, I think 1950s or 60s they stopped, but then the remnants of the station was there. So when we moved in here in early 1980s, my father would take us for a walk towards that old Kolaba station where some things were there, and you would show us things, then you would take us for a walk. And then one particular building you would show me near Gateway of India, and there are a lot of lanes there. He would show me one building and he said, who stays here? He would talk about one very famous actress who was the most beautiful woman on the planet in 1940s when my father was a young boy. So he said, we grew up thinking that she is like the most beautiful woman. Her name was Leela Naidu. I don't know if you've heard of her. Extremely beautiful and talented actor. So then he would tell me she stays here all alone. There's nobody to take care of her. And we would go on every Sunday and I would look at that balcony of that house, oh, yahan pe rehti hai. She was very old that time. This is 80s. And then I heard later on that, she passed away. But at one time when she was so popular, but there was nobody. So that's the fate of all the glamour. You can see the facade you can see how it is all shallow. So therefore, you can see that there will be loneliness, and that's what this pastime. See, Vyasdev is feeling lonely, incomplete. Is not like we feeling incomplete. Let me clarify that. There is a very big difference. There's a very big difference. He is definitely satisfied and happy, but there he wants more. When we are feeling incomplete, it is very material. But still, there is a lesson for us that nothing can give us happiness other than our connection to the Lord. Like I remember once I was on a plane traveling from somewhere. There was a man next to me. He was some famous singer. I now don't even remember his name. The people are talking to him, and then he told me that he sings, some singer. And then he told me, how God has incarnated. So I said, in Kali Yuga, God has incarnated as sound. I was telling him about holy names. And he said, yes, I also believe God has incarnated as sound. And my God is Kishore Kumar. And, he was a great fan of Kishore Kumar. And so I was listening to him. I said, and he said, and then he jokingly said, Om Kishore Kumar Aya Nama. You say, oh, Krishna Aya Nama. I say, so then I also joked with him because I was trying to connect with him. So I also told him, yes, I used to hear Rafi, Kishore Kumar. Then we spoke about some things. But then I didn't have the heart to tell him at that time about Kishore Kumar's life. He led a very tragic life. He died not very old. He was quite middle-aged. He died a very lonely life. More than 4 marriages. He had a lot of eccentricities. I don't know if he was staying at Pedder Road. He had put a big board outside his house saying that beware of dog, beware of Kishore Kumar. Because somebody would ring the bell, you would open the door, sometimes pounce on them like a dog pounces and would bite them. He had a lot of eccentricities and even a lot of depression. There's a whole biography on him written by Pritish Nandi. When I was in college, I had read that. So I'm not criticizing. See, entertainment has a place in society. We all need entertainment. Pleasure is one component of happiness. Happiness is 3 components. So I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that it is shallow. From Srimad Bhagavatam's perspective, when we realize that if somebody like Vyasdev is not happy despite Vedic solutions, how can we be happy with mundane material sound, material things? This is a thought-provoking subject. We are not telling you to give up your hobbies or your entertainment, your movies. That's all fine, but that's a painkiller that gives some relief when you're in distress, and everybody needs painkillers. That's okay. But painkiller is not a substitute for the medicine which will nourish the soul. And that's the subject matter. So now let us see what Vyasdev realizes when he feels that I'm not feeling complete. There is something lacking in me. So let's see what is that realization he gets. Text 27 will reveal more. Nati prasida dridaya sarasvatya state shucho vitarkayan viviktasta idam chovacha dharmave.
Thus the sage, being dissatisfied at heart, at once began to reflect, because he knew the essence of religion, and he said within himself.
So he basically began to do reflection, introspection. I have seen sometimes people say, what introspection? Just follow the scriptures, just chant Hare Krishna. No, introspection is important because, even when you go to Guru and you take guidance, he will ask you questions and the answer you give is based on your introspection only. When you go to a doctor, when a doctor asks you a question, you should be able to answer. That means some contemplation and introspection is a part of spiritual process. So Vyasdev is doing introspection. Why am I feeling incomplete? Kya kami hai? What is it that is lacking? So Vyasdev paused, he did introspection and he asked some questions to himself and asked, why am I feeling dissatisfied? And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes a beautiful statement. I want you to hear this very, very carefully. The sage began to search out the cause of not being satisfied at heart. Perfection is never attained until one is satisfied at heart. This satisfaction of heart has to be searched out beyond matter. I'll repeat this. perfection is never attained until one is satisfied at heart. And this satisfaction of heart has to be attained, has to be searched out beyond matter. So we spend so much time in perfection and in systems, but satisfaction is a completely different subject matter. It is beyond systems. It's like, we as spiritual practitioners, we have what is called as a sadhana card. Sadhana is spiritual practice. Card is like a report card. We have daily, we take inventory. Okay, how much did I chant? How much did I pray? What did I do? How much did I serve today? So at the end of the day, things will come on the tick, tick, tick. Okay, I ticked the 7 boxes today. We all have our own cards and we try to get good score. Sometimes for weeks together, you may do very well on your sadhana card, but still you may feel incomplete because satisfaction is beyond perfection in systems. It is matter of the heart. That is very important. So you may know you have done everything, but is your heart connected to the Lord? So Vyasdev is getting these realizations. We'll chant 28 and 29 also. Please repeat. Dhrita vritena hi maya chandamsi guravognaya manita nirgali kena grihitam chanushasanam Bharata vyapadeshena amanyartascha darshita drishyate yatra dharmadi Sri Shudradibir aputa.
I have, under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipped the Veda, the spiritual masters and the altar of service. I have also abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudra, and others with a friend of choice can see the path of religion.
Sometimes we think, we are not satisfied because, Prabhu, I'm living in Mumbai. It's a busy life, very passionate, a lot of traffic, a lot of noise pollution. But I want to tell you, Vyasdev was living in tranquil Himalayas and still he was feeling lonely. That means it has not got to do with only, it's not satisfaction, it's not simply living in nature. Because it's not that if you live in the mountains, you become satisfied. And there was a newspaper cartoon. It was actually a true story about one very top industrialist in Mumbai. He was saying in an interview that what is his desire. He spoke about one old village somewhere in Himachal Pradesh. He said, I want to go there and just stay in nature. And that's my dream. I want to be away from all this anxiety of my business. And I want to just stay there, peaceful. And that reporter went to that village there and asked that villager, what is your desire? But I want to go to Mumbai and make it big. So that's the way relative happiness, Every day 10,000 young men and women enter Mumbai wanting to be Shah Rukh Khan and Deepika Padukone. They want to come here, make it big. Every year. And most of them land up being Thelawalas. They don't actually make it big. So it's very relative, we dream of so much, but life is not a bed of roses. So this loneliness, this dissatisfaction Vyasdev is feeling is interesting. And he is living in a very nice atmosphere. But without Krishna, there will always be something lacking. Now, we'll chant text 30 also, then we will conclude this section. Atapi batame dayo Atma chaivatmana vibhu Asampanna iva bhati Brahma varchasya sattama.
I am feeling incomplete, though I am myself fully equipped with everything required by the way.
See, he is feeling asampanna. He is feeling incomplete. Kuch to kami hai. There is something lacking. See, his why was strong. Why means he had a sense of purpose. And how is also strong. He made all proper systems. We discussed last time, Chatur Hotram, Karma Shuddham, Prajanam, Diksha Vedikam. He divided the Vedas and all of that. Ekam Brahmam, Chaturvidam, he made it into 4, and all those things he did. So why and how is perfect, but the what was lacking. He is not adding one element, which he realizes in the next verse, text number 31. He finally realizes why he is incomplete. Kim va Bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupita priya paramahamsana eva achyuta priya.
This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord.
So he's saying, maybe, Kimva, maybe I did not glorify Krishna directly. Maybe because of that, I did not directly glorify the path of devotional service. Maybe because of that, I'm not feeling complete. So here is the answer. He himself understands from introspection. See, for those who are not qualified, he wrote Mahabharata. Okay? But for those who are qualified, those who wanted to hear Krishna consciousness, he did not give pure unalloyed devotional service. He did mention Krishna, he did mention devotional service in Puranas. But if you see, in all those places, in Puranas, in all the other literatures, devotional service is mentioned as a means for liberation. It was all presented as a means that you practice bhakti, then you get something else. You get peace or whatever. But for a true lover of Krishna consciousness, who is really practicing pure spiritual life, for him, bhakti is not a means for something else. It's an end. Pure devotee doesn't want to chant and hear Krishna's name because he wants to be happy. He wants to chant and hear because that is his goal. See, we chant Hare Krishna. I chant Hare Krishna because I want to be happy. But a pure devotee chants Hare Krishna because he is happy. He's like, it is effective and ours is executive. We are executing bhakti so that I can become happy. But it's a very different paradigm. So Vyasadeva had pure intention, but he did not understand that he has to also give Krishna consciousness purely. See, his intention was pure, but the pure Krishna connection he did not give. There was incompleteness there. Now, if you compare him with Dhruva Maharaj was a young 5-year-old boy. His intention was not pure, but he intensely connected with Krishna. So what happened? That connection with Krishna purified him. So he had a selfish intention, but his connection with Krishna was intense. So that led to satisfaction also, and eventually became selfless also. His intention also became pure. So the point is, Vyasadeva had selfless intention, but without Krishna connection, it doesn't give satisfaction of the heart. Whereas Dhruva shows that you may have selfish intention, but with Krishna connection, not only you get satisfaction, but eventually you also land up doing selfless service. Because Dhruva was intensely focusing on Krishna so much that, and he wanted a kingdom greater than his great grandfather. And when the Lord appeared, he looked at the Lord and he said, what did I ask for? He was like shocked. He said, I wanted a kingdom greater than my great grandfather, and I was meditating on you. And now you have come. I'm a fool. That is a very beautiful verse, which I'm not able to recall now, where Dhruva says that Kacham vichinman apidivya ratnam swamin kritartosmi varam nayache. I remember it. Sthana bilashi tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan deva munindra guyam. Kacham vichinman apidivya ratnam swamin kritartosmi varam nayache. He says, Tana Abhilashi, mera Abhilasha kya tha? I wanted a great position. Tapasi titoham. I did a lot of tapasya for that. I meditated on you, my dear Lord. Tana Abhilashi tapasi titoham. But what did I get? Tvam praptavan. I got you only. I wanted something from you, but I got you. And getting you is Tvam praptavan deva munindra guyam. Great devotees and great devtas, demigods don't get you, and I got you. And now I am realizing Kacham vichinvan api divya ratnam. I was looking for broken pieces of glass and I've got a diamond now. Kacham vichinvan. Kacham means glass. Api divya ratnam means a diamond. Swamin kritartosmi varam nayache. I don't want anything from you. Look at the change. So this is how Krishna completely satisfies the heart. So moral of the story is somehow connect to Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes a very deeply emotional statement. I want to read it for you. He says, unless one is fixed in the normal condition of service, neither the Lord nor the living being can become fully satisfied. This defect was felt by him when Narad Muni's spiritual master reached him. It is described as follows. Basically, now the section will follow. Means even Krishna, here Prabhupada is saying, even neither the Lord can become fully satisfied. Means when we approach him, if you want to satisfy the Lord also becomes completely satisfied only when we approach him without any ulterior motive. So this is the key. And Vyasdev is realizing that I wish I could have done this. And now he starts contemplating on this. So the most important here is connection with Krishna. This is the secret. See, nowadays, a lot of focus is on pleasure. See, people, one of the biggest thing nowadays is happiness. If you talk about happiness, people immediately equate happiness with pleasure. Pleasure is with the senses. You eat something good, you see some good movie. What the senses get pleasure, and that is not happiness. That is one component of happiness which is insignificant, because the pleasure that we experience with our senses, in economics, there is this law of diminishing marginal utility. With each successive consumption of the product, then the happiness you derive from it reduces. Eventually, you may, like your gulab jamun, you may love it. The first time you eat, the second one may increase your desire, third one, but afterwards, you may just vomit out. You can't eat more. So pleasure has limitations, inherent limitations. That is one component of happiness. But there is two more. The second is engagement. Engagement gives more happiness than simply pleasure. Like if you're watching cricket match, there was IPL match, people are watching for hours on TV. Now, you contrast the happiness you feel watching that cricket match on TV with you actually going out and playing. And then you give a score. You will give more score for your. You may not play as well as those people who played on that cricket match. You may not be a great cricket player like Virat Kohli. But when you play cricket, you will get more happiness than watching Virat Kohli play. That engagement gives more happiness than simply pleasure to the senses. You're actually acting, actually doing. And then there is a third component of happiness, which is sense of meaning, sense of purpose. When that is there, then even sometimes suffering becomes okay. Because you have a purpose higher. See, meaning means something bigger than you. Something larger than me is a purpose. All three has to be there. And then,
go on. You can give this example in the same cricket, the sense of purpose.
Cricket में कुछ नहीं. Example देंगे आपको. पर cricket में कुछ नहीं.
Cricket में नहीं बोल रहा. I'm in that same context. जैसे बोला watching, playing, and third is.
I'm giving up cricket. I'm doing something else. That is the third example. Martin Seligman, he was one of the famous psychologists of the 20th century. So he did one experiment in his class. When he went for his class, one day he said, today we will, he made an announcement to the class, today I'm going to take you out to watch a movie. So the students were very happy. अरे आज हमारे professor हमको तो class नहीं दे रहे, movie लेके जा रहे हैं. So after the movie, he said, okay, now come back to the class. So in the class, he gave them a question. They had to rank their experience of happiness they experienced after watching the movie. Out of 1 to 5, they gave some rank. And next day when he came to the class, he said, today also I'm not taking a class. Today I'm taking you out to one, I think, some orphanage or some charity, some place where they did some social service for 2 hours. So yesterday they had seen a movie. Today they did some 2 hours of social service. After that, again, he gave them a question and they ranked their happiness. That was over. But after 6 months, he went to the same classroom, same students, and he said, remember 6 months ago, we went for a movie. Now rank the happiness you're feeling now because of that activity. So they all ranked 2, 3, 4, whatever. Then he took that paper. Then he gave them another paper. He said, now remember 6 months ago, after that movie, the next day we went to the social service camp. So the happiness you're feeling now because of that activity, you rank it. And 100% of the students, you all must have guessed it, their happiness by doing social service was greater than the happiness they experienced by watching that movie. Which means meaning, contribution, doing something larger than. See, Vyasdev, therefore Vyasdev was very happy compared to all of us. But even at that level, there is a Krishna element needed, which he is now realizing. But I'm just saying, at our level, even engagement and pleasure is centered on I only. You are playing cricket. You are watching cricket. So pleasure and engagement is centered on you only. But meaning is something larger than myself. It's for the mission. Like, for example, preachers are there, missionaries are there, those who do social service, those who live for others. Like you ask a mother if she's very happy. She may not be happy with her child, but she loves her child, and that meaning gives her strength to go on. You ask so many mothers, do you love your child? Yes. Are you happy because of your child? Not necessarily. What are the different emotions a mother goes through because of her child? Frustrated, angry, so many emotions. So happiness is not, that's what I'm saying. When you have a sense of meaning, purpose, then suddenly you want to live, you want to do. Like I knew one of my distant relatives, my mom's like cousin's daughter, like that. She was a case of serious depression and all of that. And she didn't want to live, some problems in life. And then whatever happened, anyway, things changed in her life. And then she became a mother. And she was so excited in becoming a mother because she had some miscarriages and all that. And finally, when she became a mother, her whole focus was how to raise the child, how to give the best to the child. Then she started eating properly, she started doing things properly. Usko ek moh mil gaya, ek purpose mil gaya. So the point I'm saying is like meaning, a purpose for something beyond myself. So ये तीनों component रहेगा. Nowadays what is happening is it's all focused. Happiness is equated. Happiness has become synonymous with pleasure. Pleasure is all about taking. Happiness actually is when we are giving. You see this? Happiness is pleasure is about senses. It's visceral. You know, it's about what you feel in the body and senses. But happiness is ethereal. You know, it's like it's beyond the body. It's deeper. A simple example: you put perfume. You know, even if it's very fragrant, your nose may get stimulated and your senses may get stimulated. But if you go to a garden, like you go to hanging garden, I go often there. You know, sometimes when the first rains will come now, and the entire earth and grass would smell because of the mixture of the rainwater with the earth. Now that fragrance is million times better than the fragrance of a perfume or the fresh flowers fragrance. So what I'm saying is you can instantly feel a difference here. Even in a simple act of fragrance, something is titillating the nose, the sense of nose and smell. But a natural flower, natural fragrance goes somewhere deeper. So just imagine if this is the case with a simple a rose or a perfume. Just imagine deeper experiences in life. You see? So, what Vyasdev is realizing is, I have to now practice pure devotional service. I have to give pure stuff. And Prabhupada says even Lord is satisfied when there is purity. Like even you and me, if we come across someone who gives us something without expecting anything in return, don't we feel overwhelmed? I went to Mayapur many years ago in 2006 or 7. I remember on an Ekadashi, I was just chanting in Prabhupada Samadhi. There was nobody. I was just chanting alone. And I was feeling hungry. Although it is Ekadashi, we have Ekadashi Prasad. And I was hungry and I was wondering who will give me what prasad. And one of the Samadhi Mandir pujaris came to me, Bengali. He said, Prabhuji, prasad khayenge? Prasad. I was like, wow, your desire to wish come true. So I said, yes. So then he took me inside and he served me a opulent prasadam, Ekadashi feast. And I was like, what does he want from me? Because I'm a manager. I was a manager at that time, and I was looking at everything with that, glass of suspicion. Agenda होगा कुछ अच्छा है, बंगाली है, so Bombay आने का रहेगा, maybe wanting something, job here, all that speculation. Why would he give me a stranger? Why would he give prasad? So then I took that prasad. I said I'll deal with that later. And then he was singing some bhajans, he was serving me second, third. Then he insisted on taking my leaf plate. He only threw it. And then I asked him. I was wondering, he's going to. Then he said, Prabhuji, I want to ask something. Then I went, abhi aaya. I said, Prabhu, can you please pray for me? Please bless me. I said, okay, what else? Nothing. He just kept saying this only. Please pray for me. Please give me your blessing. You have come from Chapati, Radha Gopinath Mandir. I was like, no, there must be something. It took me some time to realize that he was doing it selflessly. And then when I realized, I felt so ashamed of myself. And then I asked him, do you want anything? Can I give anything to you? And then one statement, it was like a slap on my face. He said, what can you give me? We are in Mayapur Dham. We have everything here. And then I realized he was giving it only out of love. He just wanted to serve. And then I felt so overwhelmed. I ran to my room. I was staying close by. I brought some cookies from temple. All the cookie packets I took, I went to him. I gave him. Then every year I went to Mayapur, I would go and meet him. We meet so many people all the time. We don't remember them. But somebody does something to you without expecting anything in return. Even a hard-hearted person like you and me, of this material world, we feel, our heart becomes soft and we become overwhelmed. Just imagine Krishna, who is the most soft-hearted personality, how he will feel if we approach him and tell him, Krishna, I love you. Krishna, I don't want anything. I just want to make you happy. I just want to please you. Just once we try this, serving Krishna, okay, like you go and you give something to some children. Like today, two of us were brahmacharis, we had some apples and bananas. So there are a lot of beggars here near Babulnath temple. So we went there, we distributed those to the children. And this is Krishna Prasad, and praying to Krishna, giving it to the children. We came back so happy. So just imagine if we consciously think of pleasing Krishna without expecting anything in return from that act, how much more we can get, isn't it? So that's what Vyasadeva is now going to realize. Now, because this is his introspection. Now from next week, we will discuss how his guru will come now, Narad Muni. And he will confirm what Vyasadeva is feeling, and he's going to tell him some strategies, what he needs to do to fill that vacuum in his heart, that gap in the heart. That we will take up next time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.